Wednesday, even though we got beat, we got beat by a good team. There's 5 top-tier teams in the Big Sky Conference. It's pretty easy to see who they are: Montana State, Northern Arizona, Cal Poly, and
Eastern
Washington was pretty darn good too. So the fact that we were able to battle one of those 5 programs tooth and nail for a long time, sag a little, and then try to crawl back into it, is a testimony to how much more improved we are, how much better we are about believing what our mission is and our goal. The good thing about the ball game was that defensively we played our game plan early. We got shredded in the third quarter by a really good player, and then in the fourth quarter we got some stops, but offensively we caught a little bit of fire. Justin Arias is one of those kind of guys that he can keep you in the ball game because he really is playing well as a quarterback.
You said you had your game plan defensively very well. Was the second half reverting back to last year, or just going up against a really good running back?
Well, we drove the length of the field and fumbled on the 11-yard line, and just had a character issue, a team character issue from that point on. Just a matter of not necessarily what we were calling offensively or defensively, more a case of them outplaying us and us not willing to play up to our capabilities. So it took us a long time as a coaching staff to yoke our guys back into playing the way they needed to be able to play. And once we got going, we were a little too far out of sight. They were a little too far out of sight. Even though we crawled back and scored 30 points after having only scored 3 and 10 the previous 2 games against these guys, I'm pretty proud of how much progress we're making against a very solid NAU program.
Talk about that. This is something the team, at least in the last couple of years, probably would have never been able to do, stage a comeback like that.
My mom continually reminds me that there are statistics and liars for statistics, and she says it a little different than the way it's supposed to be said. And, but the numbers are really good for us. Even though Mom might be a little confused about the way you're supposed to say it, I'm not confused by the evidence by which we're showing progress in our program. So we want to win. I mean, it's about being able to have more points than the other team at the end of the game, no matter what style of offense or defense you play. And that continues to slip a little bit away from us in the 2013 season. However, the fact that we have rebounded from such a devastating performance in 2012, especially on defense, gives me hope, and it means it shows me that what we're doing and what we believe in is going to work. We just have to make sure we grow into it.
I want to piggyback on Chase's question a little bit. Looking at day 1 of ISU football this year to now, where have been the improvements and the areas that you're like, wow, we've gotten farther than where we thought we would, and where are some of the areas where you think, that's not where I hoped we would?
Well, we're probably better in every single area. Kicking game has really become a big part of what we do. We've not become a thorn in our own side. Last Saturday we kicked off 3 times, 2 were touchbacks, and 1 was a tackle inside the 16-yard line, and that just illustrates what a solid kicking game we're developing. Defensive line was a major issue for us, and I think Steve Lafitte has done a wonderful job with pretty much the same cast of characters in our front, other than Tyler Cooter from last season. So, and Tyler only played 26 plays on Saturday. So there's been a lot of improvement in what we're doing. The disappointing thing was the injuries to our offensive front. Losing Nick Beckman was about as catastrophic as it gets. And we've replaced him to a degree, yet it's turned around to be, the pit in the cherry that's still there. We've had to move a really young, talented left guard up to right tackle, and he's played very well out there. But it's given us a huge hole now on the left side of our offensive line that we got to try and shore up this week.
Are you happy with your team right now?
No, I don't think I'm happy. We don't want to be happy after a loss to anybody. And the thing I'm satisfied with, or maybe I don't know how I know a lot of the words to use, but the one thing I kind of smirked to myself. I'm glad we're a little hurt this week because we lost. We're not hurt because we played well and didn't win. We're hurt because we lost, and I think that's a good sign that we're going to mature into a very fine program.
How close is this team to winning consistently and reaching that point?
Not as confident as I want us to be. Our issues in all 4 Big Sky losses have been self-inflicted. Drop passes. Last week we had 13 critical errors between our 2 senior wide receivers. Luke had 8, and Cam Richmond had 5. And not all of those are drops. Some of those are bad routes or routes that we know they know how to run that are critical errors. we have got to get our best players to play at the moment. In fact, I was thinking today, I'm trying to find that wide receiver slide or highlight clip from this season. I haven't seen it yet. Same thing is true at running back. We're 2 weeks in a row, our longest run in a running game has been only 13 yards. We have got to be more dynamic on offense, even though we are gaining yards and gravitating and grinding out first downs. We're not scoring points. In fact, I think that we're 40th in the nation in total offense, and no team has scored fewer touchdowns in the top 40 than we have, with only 20 touchdowns on the season. So that illustrates the fact that, yeah, we're doing good. We're moving the ball, and we're facing long field position, but we've got to score points. The other part of that dynamic is defensively, we can't get off the field by causing turnovers. We only have 3 interceptions on the year, and I think 3 fumble recoveries. But we got to get our hands on more footballs defensively and become more dynamic as a team.
Mike, when you looked at the tape back from the NAU game, what was the difference between the first half and the second half? Was Bauman doing something differently? Was NAU doing something differently in the second half?
Well, Bauman ran against guys who were unblocked about 4 or 5 times. Unblocked guys at the point of attack, and he got away from them. And so, the guys we're putting on the field have got to be able to tackle a running back in the open field. And we can't go to sleep on a running back on a screen to the other side, a running back slipping out the backside on a screen play. So we made some elementary mistakes, like not tackling, or not tackling when we're at the point of attack, or losing sight of every receiver on a hitch screen pass that turned out to be a really good trick play for them. So defensively, we started reeling. But more importantly, Mark, we failed on first down offensively. I think we went 1, 0, gain of 5, gain of 13, 0, -3 on first down in the third quarter. I think we had 5 possessions, and every one of the first down plays of those possessions gave us nothing. In fact, if you look at the stats, one of the cool things that my mom doesn't like to look at, but she should, is the fact that Justin Arias has faced more third downs than any other quarterback in the conference, and has achieved more first downs as a team and as an individual player than any other player in the conference. We are doing a bad job as a team forcing that kid to be in third down, especially third down and long. So to me, it's a matter of first down, defensively getting the opposing quarterback to be in situations that Justin seems to be facing way too many times in Big Sky games.
A team in Southern Utah now that is in that elite class.
Correct.
Put them in. But
Like the rest of us, there's 8 other teams. I think we're all about the same. Southern Utah is a team that's struggling again at quarterback. Eric Cantu, who's a junior college player for them, has played well at times, and at times he has just disappeared. And last week, unfortunately for him, he threw a lot of passes, got a lot of completions, but wasn't able to sustain any drives against a very good Eastern Washington defense. They ended up the game going with the true freshman at quarterback, and all of a sudden they started moving the ball. He ends up being their leading rusher, a la Tim Tebow, and was 3 of 6 throwing the ball. So we're pretty wary of what SUU might try to do against us defensively on Saturday, because they could vary their attack and go all the way to a ground game based quarterback and try to shorten the game to keep our offense off the field. Because defensively, they're not a fire and forget defense, in that they're not a cover one or a man-to-man team that wants to blitz. They're a zone team that wants to make you make a mistake and force you to go long field. And obviously going long field, and we've had to do it quite a bit this year, is something we can do. We haven't done it consistently enough. And I think if I would look at us defensively from SUU's point of view of what they do the best, which is pack it in against the run and play zone on the back end and not get beat by any long plays. And I would keep Idaho State at a low rushing average, at a low passing per play average, and I think you'd have a chance for success. So that's what we anticipate. We anticipate some sort of variance in their offense, but a very conservative approach defensively.
similar to how Northern Colorado played you defensively?
No. Northern Colorado tried to play us a lot of man, and we shocked him out of the man on the first play of the game and forced him to play 3-man rush, which is something that they had success against us, especially a year ago, playing that. No, Southern Utah primarily, I think, play us in a 4-man rush and a 3 underneath linebacker look and a 4 deep secondary look, and just force us to grind it out down the field, throwing, and protecting the passer.
What do you know about Ed Lamb?
Good man, a good guy. Been there 6 years. Took over a program that was sloppy, and has brought some discipline to it. Has brought some character to the program. Very, very conservative type of coach, but also a very consistent type of coach. They're 5-3 And even though they're 5-3, and I don't consider them one of the elite teams in our conference, they're going to play very, very well at home, like the rest of us need to learn how to do. And I like that part of their program. So a severe challenge for us, because obviously that road thing just keeps peeking around the corner at us every game until we can put that thing to bed.
How far back, Mike, do your connections go with Southern Utah?
Well,
were you there, for example, when they used to run that triple option and rush for 600 yards a game?
We went down there in 1998, and they rushed for 490 against us back in the day when they were running all their flexbone stuff. So it's a cool place. It's one of the unique parts of the country to go south from Provo along the I-15 to Cedar City. It's one of the unique spots in the nation, and only those of us that have been born in the West and appreciate sagebrush can look out the bus window and go, man, this is pretty cool. And I am very much excited about the trip.
What would you do if you could finally end this road losing streak?
Well, I'll move on to next week and then come back home and play two home games. Just, to me, it's not the streak. I don't really, I just don't really want to. It doesn't grind away at me like my other people. It's not a mathematical anomaly, Mom. It's deserved. We haven't won a road game because we're not good enough, and you don't get lucky. You don't in 3 hours luck runs out. I don't know if you've ever been at the gambling tables or the gaming tables, and I don't ever do that stuff because I've never been lucky for 3 hours. I've been good for 3 hours, and you win games, and then when we're good enough, we'll win a lot of games on the road. So to me, it's just a measure of. It's not where we play, it's not who we play, it's how we play. And again, you can't have 13 critical errors when you're only 2 seniors on offense. You can't have 4 missed errors, 4 missed tackles apiece at each one of the 3 safeties who played in the game on Saturday. I mean, you can see, go back to that ball game, we dropped the football on a beautiful opening drive of the third quarter. We dropped the ball. It had nothing to do with Northern Arizona. So those are the things that I try to concentrate on. If I can be a head coach and limit those things and get our guys to believe that the next play can always be successful, then streaks will go away.
Coach, your next 3 road games are all in the state of Utah. Lots of bus trips for you guys? Or
Lots
are you
of great bus trips. We travel in 3 buses, and the big heavies go on the first bus. Sandy rides with me, and she squeezes me out of my seat a little bit. But it's cool for us because the cost of who we're playing isn't very much, which is great for us. But also, there's great football in the state of Utah, especially at the collegiate level. And it's fun for us to have an opportunity to play all the way down in Cedar City and then play a little bit closer home those last 2 ball games on the road.
Is this the beginning of beating every single team in the state of Utah over the next 2 years?
Heck no. This is the beginning of us continuing to find a way to play better than we played last Saturday. And I think, at the end of the game, we look back on it, and as a team, we were pretty sober about what had just occurred. Because at halftime, ahead 14-12, we acted like it. I mean, we didn't get real excited. And we took the opening drive of the third quarter, went down, looked like we were going to really extend ourselves. And all of a sudden, disaster hit, and we crawled back inside ourselves. And so what I want us to do is just, play some confidence and go down and play a tough-minded team that plays very well at home.
Coach, I know you've talked to me about Trevor Spence before. Tell me about him, what he brings for the program.
Well, it's great that we use the word tough-minded in a sentence prior to talking about Trevor Spence. From Aberdeen, a kid who was a good all-around player out there and was asked by the Idaho State coaching staff to come here and pay his own way, and he did. And when we got here in December of 2010, he was still a walk-on, and we were the ones that gave him aid right away, because you could see that he was going to be a pretty good player, a guy that was going to be a good leader, and really a role model type of guy, not necessarily a bombastic chest thumper that maybe some people think you have to be to earn a scholarship as a walk-on. So he's a pretty cerebral kid. He's got a really good academic background. He also has some divergent interests that are not typical of a normal college football player. You check out his music video that he's online with a couple of buddies. It's pretty cool. The music's actually pretty good, and I do want to celebrate today the premiere of AFI's last album, Burials. It's Day of the St. Louis Cardinals.
Coach, you've mentioned how Jim Bagley's playing really well for you. Are you want the rest of your O-line to grow out mustaches, or what's the thoughts on that?
Well, they're a long ways away from being able to do that. They're not as old as Jimmy. We're talking about Jim being the old man on the offensive line, and he's still only a 20-year-old junior. You know, the one good thing about Jim is that our offensive line is under construction. I mean, it's just, you could put up that construction tape around our offensive line for a couple of years yet before we get to where I want us to be. The one thing I don't hear Coach Stroxel talking about bags much. And I keep a pretty eagle eye on that offensive front. And the less you say about an offensive lineman, the better it is for him down the road. And that's the case with Jimmy. We don't worry about how he plays on Saturday because I know that on Sunday I'm going to watch him play well on video.
Cardinals in how many games?
Oh, Cardinals in 7. A classic 1967 replay of one of the greatest World Series that ever existed. Thanks, fellas.